So I know definitely for ladies wanataka kujua like what kind of a man anafaa kuact, ama karakter ya msee mwenye anajua value yake as a man inakuanga nini sana sana. Number one, a man who knows his value ni msee hata bembeleza dem for so long. Ni mtu mwenye atakuja ajaribu, yes, atakupea chance, atajaribu kukuelewa, lakini tena akiona ni kama you are demanding too much from him and he's not willing to give it to you in terms of probably hata time yake, in terms of hata vibe, probably amekupiga vibe yake, lakini ni kama bado unataka, ni kama unataka kumuonesha una play hard to get. Men are not falling for that nowadays, okay? Squeezy juu tumeshajua like madem ni wengi ni nini, because already that is a concept in our mind. Unapata wanaume wengi, they won't spend too much time on one girl, especially kama ana play hard to get excess, okay? Number two, a man who knows his value ni msee mwenye even if he doesn't have the money, anajua at the end of the day probably his vision is his value. Zile vitu anataka kufanya ndio value yake, zile vitu ana invest in ndio value yake. So he might not tell you everything about what he's doing for his life ama what he's doing to better his life ama his future. So hizo ndio value zake, hizo ndio vitu zenye ame put like his treasures. Anajua hizi vitu zikikam kukua, I'll be in a very different place as a man. So hizo ndio vitu zenye anajua for sure zina raise value yake as a man. So even as a lady ukijaribu kuangalia, na no wonder sometimes you'll find mwanaume unaweza pata like maybe hana do that much, but kuna venye akona kamaringo fulani, ama kuna venye like inaitwaje, kuna venye anaji understand, anaelewa value yake ni gani. Why? Because he sees the future. Anaona by then in just a few months, in just a short period of time nitakuwa nimeweza kuachieve hizi vitu, so there's no way I'm going to settle down for less because hizo vitu sina sahi. Okay, that's another mindset that utajua that man knows his value, hata settle for less. That's the other thing. A man who knows his value will never settle for less. Why? Because already probably ashai and the most prettiest lady, ashai date the most beautiful lady, especially mwanaume mwenye ashai date mademo warembo. Huo ni mwanaume huwezi mwambia kitu, because at the end of the day he knows he can get those girls. He knows hiyo ndo level yake, so he won't hata waste time, especially na dem mwenye anaona maybe udem hata si mrembo. Sometimes as a man kuna dem anaweza kuringia, unamwangalia unaona udem si mrembo in the first place. In the second place, she's si ati ni mtu ameachieve so much, so it's not like you've put their value uko juu. So you look at them and you're thinking, why is this lady probably mbona anakuonesha maringo, and you can't really tell mbona udem anakuonesha maringo. So that's the other thing. Like a man, the minute I sense that dem probably is not even of his standard, he's lower than his standard, and yet anakuonesha maringo, that guy will quickly switch gears, and actually by there atakutoka na ende mtu mwingine. And also that's the other thing, that a man who knows his value anajua kuna madem wengi, so he's always has a abundance mindset. That means anajua akiachana na udem atapata dem mwingine, akiachana na udem atapata dem mwingine. I always tell you that even for me as a mindset, najuanga once delete number ya dem, and maybe probably communication wasn't working, ama hakuwa hata kuniongelesha, ama like she was playing too hard to get, the minute I delete that number, I am always certain that kutakuja dem mwingine, and it's always worked out for me. Why? Because probably send out different DMs kwa madem. Of course, as a man, mimi naweza kuambia like tumia DM, tumia pale DM TikTok, Instagram, tumia DM iko hapo so that you can interact with different people. So use it, and even as a man, what that teaches you, inakufunza how different women react to your vibe. So probably tuseme una date, unatumia vibe moja kwa madem kama 10, you will tell out of this 10 receive aje hiyo vibe yako. So you know where to change, like usimu approach hivi. So it also, it's a learning lesson for a man, because as a man you're expected to be the one who is flirting with the ladies. You're expected to be the one who is able to approach ladies. So sikae hapo useme ati ati squeezy nasikia wakisema ati kila msichana mwenye nimedate ni wao amenikatia. It's a good thing, but then itafika point yenye when you utataka dem fulani, so you'll need to have a vibe kuweza kuongelesha huo dem. So necessarily you just need to know, what am I supposed to do, what am I not supposed to do. So also the other thing you need to know about a man who who knows his value, huyu ni mtu mwenye he won't spend too much time with a lady mwenye anamtreat kama second option. You know, there are ladies you talk to ako interested in you, lakini it's almost like they don't want to show you directly ako interested na wewe. So this is the kind of guy who will not spend like 2 minutes ati anajaribu ku convince them ndio amu, you know, probably ampe you attention, because already he's convinced in himself that anaweza pata dem mwingine probably even better. So a man who knows his value won't spend too much time trying to convince you ati mbona uniongeleshi, mbona your communication is off. You know, naweza sema aje, like huyo ndio mwanaume mwenye utapata he won't even try ati kukuchange. Unaona wale wanaume utry kukuchange wanakuambia oh you are not communicating, they won't care. Huyo ni mule mtu mwenye ata move on and they'll just let you figure out. And these are the kind of people hata waki break up na dem, they don't explain themselves, they just move away. Sasa wewe ni ujue what you did wrong, you figure it out, but for him he's not there to try and tell you that this is what you did ama this is what you didn't do. So that's the kind of a man who knows his value. The other thing also ni, anytime like that man feels like now he needs to walk away, ama anytime he feels like okay hiki tu haiwork, you know, a man who knows his value is the kind of man mwenye hata ngojea kuambiwa na mtu mwingine. He's not the kind of person ataendea mabeshte wake waambie sasa hapa tukunaendaje, you know, ude man ni treat hivi. By that time ni mwanaume sasa mwenye anajijua kiakili, and he's been able to probably amekatia madem wengi, so he knows when to walk away, he knows when to stay, he knows when not to delete the number. Sasa hapo ndio unaona mwanaume na ujanja yake, hapo ndio inamuokolea, because now he knows okay ude mjuni wa karibu wacha nisi delete number yake, ama ude mjuni wa mbali wacha ni delete number yake, because at the end of the day probably hata ni long distance, so chances hata za commit na dem probably ni slim. Alright, another thing is that a man who knows his value won't spend too much time na dem mwenye kwa long distance. Again, you want somebody who is closer. Okay, so depending with what you want, a man who has value ama knows his value hata shinda akispend time akiguess. He doesn't guess, he knows exactly what he wants. Kama ni ule dem anataka ataendea ule dem, hata spend too much time ati sijui na hawa, ataendea ule dem. So ule dem akifail ama ikikosa ku, you know, probably work out venye alikuwa anataka, ndio ataendea mtu mwingine, but first he will kind of maybe focus on one person and then sasa ataendea the rest baadaye akifail hiyo you know iliisha ama ilikata. So how does a man act when he goes into a relationship and he knows his value? Number one, huyo ni mwanaume mwenye hata stand any kind of, you know, you see any kind of like you trying to treat him like ni kama yeye ni mtoi, trying to manipulate him, he won't stand it. So he's the kind of a guy who might call quits anytime. Anaweza decide by the way kitu haiwork, by the way imagine haiwork, so let's call quits. Unaget? And again I'm telling you this, that uni mwanaume mwenye he doesn't feel like he needs to prove anything to ladies. Ha feel kama ana need kukuprovia anything. So when it comes to moving on, he will move on very fast. Why? Because he doesn't feel like ana need kukuexplainia sijui nini ama nini. So that's the other thing. So basically, as a lady and you're dating a man who knows his value, uni mwanaume mwenye ako very dismissive, uni mwanaume mwenye ako very fast in making decisions, uni mwanaume mwenye has second guessingi, akidecide kusonga atasonga, and you might be there saying probably atanicall, hata kukall, just because he knows his value, he knows he can get probably another beautiful girl than you. Another thing also nikimalizia, a guy who knows he has value is a guy who knows that he is the price at the end of the day. Why? Because kama men tumefika point and tumerealize by the ladies it's so hard for a lady to go and katia, na dem pia atakwambia yeye ni hard sana akatie mwanaume, because they always expect that it's the man anawakatia. Very nice, but you see now they've created a situation where you're dependent on me coming kukukatia. So nikidecide sitakukatia, you know, it's almost like now you don't have a chance with me. Okay, there are ladies who will step up and they'll be like wacha niongelesha huyu mwanaume inakaa ni kama haoni hints.
Gachin Lion.